Hi, I'm Ginny from Ginny Music, and I teach beginner guitar to adults. I want to take a moment to make a connection between the piano and the guitar that might help you in your journey. So today I'm specifically going to focus on major scale and what that looks like on piano, and then translate that to guitar. When we look at the piano, what I first want you to notice is, of course, there's black keys and white keys. But I want you to notice that there's a pattern that repeats. It's 2 black keys, then 3, then 2, then 3, then 2, then 3. So inside the 3 black keys, the one to the right of the white keys, inside the 3 black keys, that's the letter A. It's kind of random. You just kind of have to memorize that. That's an A. So every time we see a group of 3 black keys, the one to the right inside those 3 black keys is A. So this is an A. Here's an A. Here's an A. Well, if this is A, who's this? B. Who's this? C, D, E, F, G, and whoa, look at that. We're back to A again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what happens in music, we just use 7 letters over and over again. Okay, so we've got the white keys under our belt. What about the black keys? Now here's where it gets a little tricky. The black keys do not have names of their own. The black keys take on the name of the white key that they substitute for. So I call the black keys substitutes. I'm going to use the term substitutes kind of like we have brothers and we have sisters, but we use the term siblings. The 2 kinds of substitutes that we have are flats and sharps. The proper name for them is accidentals, but I like to use the term substitutes because that is more descriptive. So let's look at our A. Sometimes the A will not sound right and we will have to use the higher substitute. In that case, we call this A's sharp or A sharp. Or sometimes the A will not sound right and the lower substitute will sound right. When it's the lower substitute, we call it A's flat or A flat. So this is A sharp, this is A flat when it is substituting for A. However, if we have a B and the B does not sound right, it does not fit the formula, and we have to use this one instead, we call this B's flat or B flat. So this black key can function as A's sharp or B's flat. When it's the higher substitute, it's a sharp. When it's a lower substitute, it's a flat. Each of these black keys can be either a sharp or a flat. So let's look at the piano keyboard. From A to A, there are not just 7 pitches, there are 7 plus 5 more. So 12 pitches. So we have A, substitute, B, C, substitute, D, substitute, E, F, substitute, G, substitute, A. There are 12 half steps. So from one key to the next, whether black or white, we call those half steps. In the UK, they call them semitones. So when we apply this to the guitar, let's use the A string, string 5, and we play open A. That's like the key on the piano, and then we press on fret 1. That's 1 semitone higher, or 1 half step higher. Then fret 2 is the next semitone, so let's count. Here's open A. That's our first pitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then when we get to here, which is actually the 12th fret, that is our octave. You can try playing along with this on the guitar. Just pluck open A. Now press on fret 1. Now fret 2, fret 3, fret 4, fret 5, should have a dot there, fret 6, fret 7, probably another dot in that fret 8, fret 9, another dot in that fret 10, fret 11, and then here is fret 12, you should have double dots, and that is your octave. If from here to here is a half step, from here to here is another half step, if we have a half plus a half, guess what? That is a whole step, or a whole tone if you're using the British terminology. So from A to B is a whole step. But look here, from B to C, that is a half step. This is going to be super important. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. Every time, always, 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 it's a half step between B and C and E and F. That's why the piano is in this configuration. But now we're going to transition to talk about scales and how scales are constructed. Scales are just a formula of whole steps and half steps that make a certain sound. So for example, the major scale always has the pattern of any starting note, and then it goes whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. I'll show you how this plays out. The piano is kind of built in the key of C. When we start this pattern on C, we don't need any substitutes. So piano players often like the key of C because they don't have to use any substitutes. So starting note, C. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Ah, pretty easy. And that's the sound of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, that we know from The Sound of Music, or we were taught in elementary school. That is the sound of the major scale. I can start any key on the piano or on the guitar, any fret, and make that same pattern, and it will have that same sound of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Let's try it on A. So here we go. Starting note, whole step, whole step. Ah, we have to use a substitute. Half step, whole step, whole step. Have to use a substitute. Whole step, we have to go to another substitute, and half step. Ah, let's hear that all together. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's it. That matches that sound. Now, for guitarists, I'm going to translate, instead of saying whole steps and half steps, I'm going to say 2 frets and 1 fret. So starting note, 2 frets, 2 frets, 1 fret, 2 frets, 2 frets, 2 frets, 1 fret. That is the major scale pattern. Starting note, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. So if you can remember, starting note, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Starting note, and then 2 2s, and then a 1, and then 3 2s, and a 1. That is your major scale pattern. You can do that starting anywhere on the guitar. Let me show you how that works. If I did not use the substitutes, this is what it would sound like. That's kind of a cool sound. It doesn't sound bad. That is what we call a minor scale, or a pure minor scale. When we do a slightly different pattern, starting note, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. That's the pattern for what we call a natural or pure minor scale. You can do any arrangement of patterns of whole and half steps to go from one note to the next octave. And eventually you'll hear this term thrown around, modes. Modes are kind of like scales. They just use a different pattern rather than starting note, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So when I do this on guitar, let's start with the open E string, the lowest pitched string, string 6. Okay, that's our E. So the pattern is starting note, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Watch this. Starting note, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, and look, I'm back at the octaves. So starting note, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That is the sound of our major scale. I can start anywhere. I'll just start randomly on string 1, fret 3. Now, because I'm starting on fret 3, I'm not going to end at the octave at the double dots. I'm going to end 3 frets above that. Okay, so here we go. Starting note, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. I'm going to say it again using 2s and 1s. Starting note, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. All right, here's my favorite way to describe why scales matter and why scales are important. This is what I use to teach my piano students, my guitar students, my ukulele students, my violin students. It doesn't matter what instrument you play. This is true across the board. Music is kind of like painting. So let's say you are an artist and you have a palette. And on your palette, you have 7 colors that you're going to paint your picture with. The palette is what we call the key of whatever the piece or the song is in. So if we are in the key of C, that means our palette is using the paints from the notes of the C major scale. So for example, the C major scale, as I told you a little bit ago, the C major scale doesn't have any substitutes in it. It's just the letter names. So if you are painting in the key of C, if you're playing music in the key of C, that means the colors that are available to you are the colors of the C scale. So you would have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Those are the colors you will play with or paint with to create your piece in the key of C. What does that mean? So let me show you how this plays out on piano. If I'm in the key of C, I'm only going to use the white keys of the piano. Those are the colors on my palette that I can paint with. Okay, so I'm going to play something in the key of C. I'm going to use the notes of the C scale. There's a little bit more to it than that, but for now, that's all you need to know. Watch, I'm only playing the white keys. What if I play a black key? That sounds terrible because it clashes because we're using the colors from the C scale. We're in the key of C. So if I play a substitute, it will sound bad. What I have found to be the most useful scale to learn first is an E scale. The reason is because that will help you the most when we get to bar chords, because the first bar chord shape will be based on your E string. So what I want you to do is get very comfortable playing an E major scale. So it's open, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, and you should end on the double dots. Playing that on your E string, but not just playing it, also knowing what letter, what pitch you are playing. So E is open. Who is fret 2? This is where it gets tricky. You have to memorize that E to fret 1 fret above that, there's no black key in between E and F and between B and C. So this is E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then A, and then B, and then C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and E. I'm going to do that on piano. So now we're going to look and do that same E scale on the piano. Starting note, here's E. Go up 2. Because we have to go in alphabetical order, E, next comes F. So this is F's substitute. When the substitute is when we have to go higher to play the substitute, it's called a sharp. When we have to go lower to play the substitute, it's called a flat. So E, 1, 2, F sharp, 2, 1, 2, G sharp, now 1, A, 2, 1, 2, B, 2, 1, 2, C sharp, 2, 2, D sharp, 1, E. So E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Play along on your guitar. Start with open E. Ready, go. Play open E, up 2, up 2, up 1, up 2, up 2, up 2, up 1. Now let's try going backwards. So play that 2 dots, that's fret 12, ready, go. Now back 1, back 2, back 2, back 2, back 1, back 2, back 2. Now I just realized you'll be playing it down here, an octave lower. Your open E, low E string is this one. So I played it an octave higher, but it'll still match.